Yo, what's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at the New York Rangers. Now, the Rangers are projected to be one of the more exciting teams going into this trade deadline for the reason that they may be one of the teams that has probably the most in their prospect pool in terms of guys that they could maybe trade. They're currently toward the top of the Metropolitan Division. They could maybe win the Metro this year. So what is it going to take for the Rangers to get to that next step? Because the narrative right now for the Rangers is more likely than not they'll be a team that makes the playoffs, right? They have the core guys, Zibanejad, Panarin, Kreider, Fox. But the problem is, do they have enough depth? Do they have enough depth to go past the first? Do they have enough to get past the first round, into the second round, into the third round? Is that the mindset of this group? Chris Drury has been pretty adamant. He wants to get this team going. And I think with Gerard Gallant behind the bench, the Rangers have the prospects, they have the depth. Can they maybe sacrifice some of those to try and win now before some guys like Alexis Lafreniere, Capo Caco, Keandre Miller come off of their entry-level contracts? So we're going to go into all of that. So this is the first one here from Darren Drager. JT Miller is a target of the New York Rangers, as is Rickard Rakell. GM Chris Drury would like to bolster his blue line, so they are among the many suitors in on Montreal Canadiens defenseman Ben Chiarot. So that is definitely interesting, and it's not really surprising. JT Miller, I already made a video about that, and one of my better videos in February. Maybe JT Miller going back to the Rangers, playing for the Broadway Blue Shirts. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about that. I think it would definitely work. But again, you're going to have to fork up a lot of assets. And I think the Rangers would be willing to do that. But that is something definitely to consider. Ben Chiarot has been a guy that definitely fits the mold. He's going to play as a defenseman, a veteran defenseman. Maybe to replace some of those young, kind of like the Leafs, right? They have their defensemen. They're all right, but they're fairly young. You bring in a guy like Ben Chiarot, you bring in a guy like Big Gio, Mark Giordano, you're going to be more confident with those guys in the playoffs than putting in some of those young guys. And especially when you're getting to a point where the Rangers are really good this year, they might want to sacrifice some of their future now. Like, this is an opportunity here. And that's some of the thought here, too. What is Chris Drury thinking? Does he see this as a playoff team that could just sneak into the playoffs and see how we do? We're not going to sacrifice the future. We're not going to sacrifice draft picks yet. Or does he say, listen, this is a good hockey team. We have some big contracts coming up. Let's try and win now. So, something to consider there. Now, this is another report. I just talked about this same report in a different video from Elliot Friedman. Bowen Byram and Nils Lundkvist are names that have been heard around the Canucks. So Nils Lundkvist's name, that's the first time we've heard about Nils Lundkvist being available. That's a Rangers defensive, I want to say prospect, but has he played enough in the NHL to not consider him a prospect at this point? He's been up and down with Hartford and with the Rangers, so he's been moving back and forth. I don't know if there's necessarily a spot for him in the NHL roster. If you've got guys like Braden Schneider and Keandre Miller, I don't know if Lundkvist could be the odd man out there. So that is definitely something that kind of perked my interest, seeing that Nils Lundkvist's name was thrown in there. Again, is that the Canucks pursuing Nils Lundkvist, or is that the Rangers maybe throwing his name out there and teams are kind of, seeing that and saying, all right, that's a guy we'd like. So that's kind of part of what we have to differentiate here, but that is still to come. Now, some of the names that have been linked, Ben Chiarot, we already talked about that. The Rangers have shown interest in Rickard Rakell and JT Miller, again from Darren Drager. So those all are the names that keep coming up. Alex Georgiev's name continues to come up as a goalie. But again, if I'm the Rangers, if I'm Chris Drury, you know that Georgiev's not coming back. This almost seems like a Cam Talbot 2.0, right? You knew throughout most of the season he wasn't getting the starting time. It was Lundqvist's net still. It's Shesterkin's net now. And if he wants to be a number one somewhere, it's not going to happen with the Rangers. He's going to have to move. And the fact that he is, he has a new contract coming up this year. He's going to want to get a number one job somewhere. So again, the Rangers have to sacrifice maybe not getting a second round pick for Georgiev, but in the event that potentially Shesterkin goes down with an injury come game 1, 2, 7 of the playoffs, who's your backup? Keith Kincaid? That's where the anxiety starts to come in, and then or Matt Huska, right? Do you want to call one of those guys up to play? So I think I understand where the Rangers are at in that regard in keeping Georgiev, sacrificing not getting the assets for him at the deadline, but God forbid come playoff time you need him, or even down the stretch you need him. I think it makes sense for them to keep him at this point. So guys, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think of the Rangers here? They've been linked to a couple names. Early on, we heard a lot of stuff about Philip Forsberg, especially to the Rangers. That is kind of simmered down. So what's the mindset there? We're going to be going over all of that. Guys, we are down to the final week before the NHL trade deadline. I'm going to be posting 3 videos a day. It's going to be a lot, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You have the the bell notification turned on so you get an update every time I post a new video. I'm going to try and keep it on the same schedule every day so you guys know when the videos come out. But guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.